Hello. Today I'm going to show you the Revolve tool on OnShape as well as the Fillet tool on OnShape. I am Mr. Redmond and this is the OnShape series. Let's start. We're going to do this drawing right here. This is a part that PLTW has provided, some of the drawing, and so we need to tackle this in OnShape. So I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to call this the spindle widget. Looks like a spindle to me. There we go. Once we're in the parts studio, we need to figure out how to tackle this. Now, you might be looking at the part here and going, hey, that's a cylinder. I know how to make that. That's pretty easy. That's just a circle that I then extrude up a few millimeters. That's not what we want to do. The reason is down here, this little notch that's being taken out of our cylinder. That is going to prevent us from just using a normal circle and then extruding that. So instead, what we're going to do is use the Revolve tool. So what we do in a Revolve tool is you're gonna have to use your imagination. You're gonna split this in half, and you're going to then build half of it, and then we're going to revolve it around an axis. So we're splitting this in half. So I'm going to use, in OnShape, I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to select the front plane, and then I'm going to use the view cube to go right into the front like this. I'm going to make a rectangle. You can use any rectangle you want. In this case, I'm going to use a center point rectangle because I like them occasionally. Drag out your rectangle. And we're going to add our dimensions. Now, you see that the diameter of our cylinder is 40 millimeters. So in this case, I don't want it to be 40 wide. I actually want it to be half that. I want it to be 20 wide because I'm going to then revolve around the center point. So I'm going to make the bottom dimension 20, and then the top dimension is going to be 30 because it is 30 tall from base all the way up here is 30. Hit enter there, and so now I have my 30 by 20 rectangle. My next task is going to be creating this notch on the bottom left. I'm going to do this over here. I'm going to get out of my rectangle tool by clicking escape. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So I need to make a notch here. Some of you that have a little bit more experience with 3D parts would think that you could do a fillet right here. Not a fillet, sorry, a chamfer right here. And the reason you can't is because a chamfer is always going to be at a 45-degree angle. In this case, we need it to be a 30-degree angle, which is not a chamfer. Technically, not a chamfer. So I need to make this notch. And the way I'm going to do that is with a line, just a single line. I'm going to click it and lock it into the bottom of the rectangle. I'm just going to move it up across the side there. I don't want it to be locked into place here. I want it off the side. And the reason is because I want this angle to be movable a little bit more. So I'm just going to put it over here. Click it there, and then I'm going to hit escape to get off of my line tool. Now I need to add a few dimensions to this, and that is pretty simple. You see that this is line starts, this notch is 5 millimeters from the left edge. So I'm going to use my dimension tool up here, and I'm going to add this dimension right here. Click on the left, click on the right. And I'm going to specify that those two points are 5 millimeters apart, just like that. I'm going to stay in the dimension tool because now I can add this 30-degree angle. I need this line to be 30 degrees. And that is thankfully pretty easy in OnShape. I need to click on the bottom line and then our new line at an angle here, and you see that the angle specification comes up when you do that. I could do this angle, which I don't want to because it's not being told to me, but you could, of course, do some math and figure that out. Very simple math. Instead, I'm going to do this side here. Click it down here. You can put it here or down here. It doesn't matter. Click down and then type in 30 and hit enter. You see that it is now moved, and it's free to move because it wasn't locked into place on this line here. Now I'm going to hit the escape key because at this point I need to make some of these lines go away so I can move on to the next part, so I can extrude this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the trim tool. I'm going to then trim away some of these lines just like that. And now the first sketch is done. I'll click on the green check here. Still in the front view, not exactly helpful all the time, so I'm going to click on the corner here to go to the ISO. Right, this. Now is the magic. We're going to, instead of using the extrude and make some block-like shape, we're going to use this tool next door called Revolve. And it does exactly what it sounds like. It's going to take your sketch and revolve it around an axis. It's a really nice way to make complicated round shapes, like a vase or something like that. We're going to make a solid. We're making something new. So now we're going to click on our drawing or sketch here, and nothing happens, and that's fine because we next need to select the axis. And in OnShape, it doesn't move right into the axis mode. In other programs like Fusion 360 or Inventor, it would then, once you click the sketch, it would then automatically help you select the axis. In this case, we have to click on the Revolve Axis button there and select which axis we want to revolve around. And we can revolve around anything here if we wanted to, but we want to pick this one right here, the center, or what will become the center of our spindle. When I click on it, you then see it forms, it rotates around that axis and fills it in. And I can then click on the check right there. And it looks from this angle to be just a regular cylinder, but in fact it's not. If you look underneath, you see that it has the notch taken out, which is pretty cool. So we'll go back to a regular ISO view. To do the rest of it, we need to extrude a block out of the top of our cylinder. Here it is a 10 millimeter square. It is 15 tall, and it has this edge right here that is called a fillet, not a fillet. It's actually called a fillet. In order to make that part, we're going to start a new sketch, and that new sketch is going to be right on the top of our cylinder here. I'm going to move our view cube to the top view, scooch it over just a little bit and zoom in. Now we need to find the center and put in a square here. The square is going to be, the center of the square will be a specified distance from the edge. So we'll take our rectangle tool. We can just do a corner rectangle here. Just put it in there anywhere we want and specify 10, hit enter, and then 10. And excellent. At the moment, our square does not appear to be centered. We can do that, of course, by using dimensions. If you had oriented this so that the center was on this, the origin here, you could use a center point rectangle, and it would automatically be on the center, but in this case it's not. Since this is 40 in diameter, and this is 10 tall, that means that we want this line to be 15 away in this direction, like that. So now that it's scooched in a little bit more center, we're going to have to do that the same exact thing on this axis as well, just to make sure that it is exactly in the center. You see that it was not. Now that that square is now perfectly centered on our cylinder. Our sketch is now complete. We are going to turn this into a feature. We'll click the green check, and we'll go back to the ISO view on the view cube. Now we need to extrude our square. We need to extrude it up 15 millimeters. We're going to click the extrude tool on the left, the top left, click on our square, and we're going to change our depth from 25 to 15 and hit enter. And there we go. Finish the extrusion just like that. Now finally, we need to get this rounded edge here on our spindle, our now extruded. It kind of looks like a top with a flat bottom in this case. So we need that to become rounded. We're going to use the Fillet tool to do that. It is right here on the toolbar in this mode. So we're going to click on Fillet, and we can choose which edges we want to fillet. In this case, we want all of these around this base of the square. So I'm going to click that there, click this one here, and now we have to go to the other side of our part here and pick the other two. So now it's starting to look appropriate. In fact, what's interesting is it defaulted here to 5 millimeter radius, which is exactly what it needed to be already. You could increase this and you could decrease this depending on what you needed as far as the radius is concerned. So if we wanted it to be something higher, like a 7, it would be a more dramatic curve. If we wanted it to be less dramatic, you could back it down to, say, 2. And it's just a little, not 72, bad, just 2 right there, and a little tiny fillet. But we want it to be, of course, 5. So we'll put it back to the default 5. Hit enter and click on the check. Now we have our completed spindle, just like that. Looks exactly like our drawing. Pretty cool.